tinfoil hat, all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mickey.
I wonder if Mickey's muted. No?
Hello and welcome to
Dave?
And Mickey's Shiny Side Out on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on Revolution.radio. I thought Dave was reading, my bad. It is home to ideas that are fresh and unadulterated. Hurrah! Lots of good conversations in the chat room. Haven't been in there yet, but we'll get there in a second. This is the show, which is a number.
619.
9, 10, and 600. You can catch us on air, on the line, and onto your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere. That's right, across the globe. Maybe even on the International Space Station. Stations. What does he mean by that? Or maybe at home on a great stable temperature radio. Most important, this is listener-funded radio. Listener-funded radio. There are many ways you can donate to the station, but bear in mind, this is not a station that is supported by anyone, including advertising revenues. We're not getting any advertising revenues from anyone, and no support from governmental or non-governmental organizations. The only support that does come into the coffers of the station is from you, listener. If you can't donate, I dig it, I get it, I understand, hard times. Tell people about the station. That's how you can help. Tell people about the station. Maybe one of those folks can donate. That would be great if they could, and it'd be great if you would. Tell people that is. Yeah, so please do. Now, just before us, as always, Solaris. It's her show, which is awesome. She's great. Researcher, published writer. She's done documentaries. That's right. Yeah, the movies and the talkies. Psychotronics is her bag. She knows all kinds of things. She's she's got great insight into a great many things. Now, if you missed her, that's okay, because you can catch her on the archives, which are free, which is another good reason to donate. And today, if you missed it, she had the Raven Stars Witching Hour, and the special guest was Steve Colburn. I missed it, I will catch it. But yeah, again, good idea to donate if you can, because the content of this station is it's not unique, but it's rare to find this kind of content. You can find it, but you got to look hard. Right now that you found it, good for you. Here it is. But if you want to keep having it, and you might not like all the shows that are on the station, that's okay. It's normal. But if you do like some of the content, maybe even most of the content, then please do donate or tell people about it, because it'll just disappear. And I'll talk about that in a second. Something really odd has happened. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, though, which we are going to do, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and for Dave,
it's the Bungalow.
Thank you, sir. And for me, of course, it's the Daruk people in what is today a 40 degrees Celsius sweltering heat, which is about 105, 106, something like that, maybe more, 110. It's hot and it's humid. And we like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Very important to recognize all of the indigenous native peoples of wherever you live. And maybe it's you. Maybe you are that person. Very important. There's a lot of knowledge there that we've done a pretty good job in the West to destroy over the last 400 or 500 years. They're gonna give it to us. Hey, let's just erase that knowledge from history.
It was the style at the time.
Yeah, just like a brown onion. Because the Kaiser stole all the white ones. What? The Kaiser. Yeah. So, I want to share something with you before we get into this, because I think it's old. It's old, but I want you to keep this in mind. So here goes. The next time you hate your life, remember, it is all about perspective. I have a friend who has sex 2 to 3 times a day, exercises twice daily, reads 2 books a week, and still complains about how much he hates prison. Perspective. What? Who said that? Trevor Miller. I want to acknowledge you here. It's a great little thing that you posted. Perspective, very important. Now, Dave, look. This week I was doing a lot of research. Sorry, I tried to do a lot of research. After we finish with our current show cycle, I want to look at the Kozyrev mirror.
Yes.
That's one thing to look at. Very interesting, which I hadn't come across before, which again surprises me. But again, let's see this even after decades of research and doing this show
You
for
still come
almost
across brand new things, huh?
Yeah, 13, 14 years doing this. No, but I also did some other research into agriculture, and more specifically, the problems of agricultural development. I mean, how did it actually happen? How did agriculture develop? How did we actually manage to do that? I mean, it's you think, oh well, it just happened. Well, yeah, everybody says that. Everybody says that. But the truth is, we don't really know. We think we know, right? We think we know. That's okay. I think it. That's all good. But there is no real physical evidence of how you go from grass to grain. And for me, that's the biggest thing. I mean, animals, I understand. Animals, okay. You get wolves to dogs, yeah, okay. And then, wild bison and buffalo to cows and wild pigs to domesticated pigs, etc., etc. I that makes sense to me because you get an immediate payoff. If you domesticate animals, you get an immediate payoff. If you want to eat them, you kill them, you eat them, right? If you can milk them, you can milk wild animals. If you sufficiently immobilize them. So, but the payoff is immediate with animals, with livestock, right? You get an immediate payoff. If it's not eggs, it's the meat or the feathers or the hide, right? But there is a payoff. So okay, I can park that, even though there are mysteries there. But grain, that really throws me. I mean, again, with fruits, okay, if there's an immediate payoff, I get it. I mean, if you're in Australia, we've got really small apples, native apples, tiny apples, right? And but that's what the native people used to eat until the Europeans came with their gigantic apples. But you can say, okay, well, show selective breeding. Again, you can eat a tiny apple, and that's a tiny apple. Just eat more of them. It's good. If you look at grass, right, and the seeds that are in the top of the grass, I don't know if you've seen that. That's not even edible per se, right? It would take a lot of that, and it's a lot of work to harvest grass.
So let's say the yield per grass plant is extremely low.
It is. I mean, it wouldn't even bother, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question then becomes, so okay, so how did this happen? How did somebody stand up one day and say, oh, I know I've made this joke before, but you look at grass and you see cane, right? I don't. I'll be honest with you. I'm not. I mean, that must have been some really.
You mean wheat?
Yeah. I mean, that's some person that had such far-sighted understanding of the world. I mean, the mind boggles, right? Not in one area of the world, but in many areas of the world. Okay, and then to this day, right? Even though the yield is pretty good, rice is still back-breaking work.
Oh yeah.
There are no machines to harvest rice. You know that?
No, that's right.
It's all hand. If you eat rice, that was harvested by people, not by a machine. I don't know, but trying to build something. But as far as I know, so far no one has succeeded in building a rice harvesting machine or planting for that matter. Okay. And then you look at these fields of wheat and oats, corn, yeah, absolutely, rye, yeah. And you know what's also funny? The ancient grains, from which our grains are the derivatives, are actually better for us. So
Yeah.
we haven't made our grains better. We might have made it bigger, maybe, I don't know, or more resistant to disease or whatever we did, but they're not better for us. The ancient grains that people used to have, like spelt, for example, and others as well, they're much better for us. You go, what? How's that possible? How can that be? The old stuff be better? The new stuff has to be better, right, Dave? The new stuff has to be better. Anyway, whatever. The point is this: I used to find a lot of material on the net on it, right? Including apparently in Japan, a few scientists a few years ago tried to reconstruct or emulate the
evolution
grain,
of grass to wheat.
pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find anything about it.
No.
So I look far and wide, and there's nothing. I've searched every parameter you can imagine. I can't find anything that questions how agriculture developed. Yes, you can find a whole bunch of stuff of this accepted scientific paradigms. There's lots of stuff on that, but nobody. Well, sorry, I can't find anything that raises questions about the history of agricultural development. So I'm using all kinds of browsers, because there's a limitation in search engines too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not relying on Google here. Okay, just to be clear, I'm using Tor browser. I don't know if you know Tor. Tor is a browser that establishes a VPN link to pretty much it completely masks your browsing. Nobody knows where you are. Okay, and it uses DuckDuckGo to search. But even there, I find nothing. Like I type in, mysteries, conspiracies, problems with, strange, whatever. Any word you can think of, I've searched in connection with agriculture or domestication of grains, etc., is zero. And I know there was a lot more information on this, and now there isn't.
Yeah.
What happened there, Dave?
I don't know.
I mean,
Deleted.
what?
You can't know
Well,
about it.
That's another. You know what? That's okay. Okay, fine. I thought maybe I posted something on Facebook. So I scrolled through my Facebook stuff, okay? And I want to say 2 out of 5 of my posts
Mm-hmm.
no longer have valid links.
Yes, I know. Same.
Gone. So it says it was either made private or it was removed or whatever else.
Mhm.
But it's just not there anymore. I've got the comments there. I've got my post is still there. It's just not posting anything. Right? Which I find a little interesting. It's similar to when we put the show notes together, we do it in Word or whatever equivalent, in A4 format, just print it out as you would at work or in school or whatever, and we fill pages and pages with our show notes. Now the show notes, apart from our editing and additions to whatever texts we might find for any topic that we have, we also link back to the original source. So if it came from the internet,
references, yeah.
Yeah, if it came from the internet, which quite a bit of it does,
Mm-hmm.
we reference the site, right? We copy the site name down and into the documents. There it is. It's a link. Sometimes we download entire PDF files because they're available, which is really great. Especially translations from ancient Sumerian.
Mm-hmm.
Anything Anunnaki related. There's some really great translation out there in the world, which are in public domain. You can download and look for yourself. So a lot of the links that I find in the show notes as I go through them, again, I want to say probably 2 out of 5 no longer work. So I go back to Time Machine.
Yep.
Now, Time Machine is meant to preserve the internet, and sometimes when I get lucky, but sometimes I don't.
Yeah,
I want to say
likewise.
it's probably 50-50, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at averages, right? So okay, I know sites get decommissioned and so forth, and then removed and whatnot, but I don't know. Is this everybody's experience, even with normal stuff, that so much of it just disappears? I don't know, Dave. What do you reckon?
Well, information's fleeting. Let's put it that way. How many people do you know, at least through the station, who were researchers that might have, found something and had a website, and then their death means that they couldn't renew the internet, right? Their website or what have you, their hosting maybe, I'm not sure, and they're gone, right? So Wayback Machine, or the other one, the internet backup, and it's sometimes it's there, yes, it's hit and miss, sometimes it's not. The things that we've put on YouTube, just be honest, sometimes it's there, and for the most part it isn't.
To your point though, and this is something we raised before.
So what's the cleansing of this internet business?
Yeah, but look, sorry, but you mentioned the people that pass away. I think there's an inordinate amount of people that have passed away that were researchers that we interviewed, and or were hosts or someone connected to the station. Now they're not all listed on the station as in memory, because some of them were guests. But if you go back through it, I mean, a lot of people that we interviewed, and I say a lot, I think an unusual percentage, in my opinion, are dead. And you're right. A great example was Jose Escamilla. Jose Escamilla came to fame with having discovered rods, or claimed to have discovered rods.
Yep.
So rods were really fast-moving entities. Again, these days, it's always been debunked. I'm not so quick to jump to that conclusion. But his stuff is gone. Then he did the Clementine mission video on the moon. A whole bunch of other stuff on the moon. I think there was 3 documentaries which we have, and good luck trying to find them now. And his site is gone. Same with Lloyd Pye. So when Lloyd Pye passed, possession of the Star Child skull went to someone else. They did a half, or not even a half decent. They did a documentary on it. They said nothing to see here. Move along, and we contacted Lloyd's wife. She said, "No, we have nothing to do with this anymore. It's now with these people." And of course, there's been complete radio silence on the topic now since Lloyd has passed. Nothing, zero. Because there's nothing to see here, so we'll just not investigate anything further, and we don't even know where the Star Child skull is now. I find this extremely disturbing, because that's physical evidence for something unusual.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? I mean, if there's nothing to it, then well, give it to us. Give it to us. We're going to look at it. I want to look at it. Oh, no, you don't need to look at it. What? Don't worry about it. What? I mean, this is just, I find this extremely upsetting.
So,
and you know what else is upsetting?
Go on.
I'm just trying, as we're speaking, I'm looking for the book that I know contained the information on agriculture in my shelf. And this is actually really upsetting. It's not there. It's not.
Wow.
I mean, what? Okay, I'm gonna have a really good look after the show, because I know the book was called "Everything You Know Is Wrong." Okay, and guess what? It's not here. What the hell? Okay, all right. Let's just go with that. Maybe I'm going insane. If that's what's happened, I've gone insane. I've made it up in my mind, and none of it is real, and it's just all living in my head. That's unbelievable.
So, Jose Escamilla, Lloyd Pye, Jim Mars, Stanton Friedman, and there was one
from Ancient Aliens.
Oh yes, that's right. That we booked him, and he passed away just before going on the show. Yeah, I remember that. But I wasn't sure of some others, so that's a lot. It really is, and we're glad to have gotten those interviews with them. Yeah.
Oh, look, absolutely. But there's of course people that were in fact connected to the station as hosts and so forth, which again there were quite a few, and they also have passed away. And again, the number. I mean, I don't know how.
Oh, Clifford Stone.
Yeah, Clifford. That's it. That's right.
That's right.
So that's a lot of people there, and it's. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm just.
Well, Clifford Stone's UFO connection, he gave us a scoop on our show, and that was about that B-52 that just looked like it was lowered into the forest, which he was part of a crew to retrieve. And they located it, but none of the trees were broken. It couldn't have flown in. It just looked like it was placed there. That was extraordinary, that revelation. So, yeah, he died in 21, that's right. It's so sad. It's so sad, but luckily we were able to get a good interview with them. And he came back 2 weeks in a row.
I know. He was a really nice guy too. Look, this is what we found. To be honest with you, a lot of people that are interested in these things. True, I mean, not the people that are trying to either throw us off the scent or are placed there by others to espouse a completely preposterous point of view. Actually, really nice people. And maybe they have to be, because it's really tough to talk about these things to people, right? So they're quite patient, I think. Something that I no longer am. So I've lost all my patience. But that's something you want to hear your doctor say. I've lost all my patience. Hey, no, context. Yeah, no, right. But certainly, really nice people. Just nice to chat to. I mean, I love Jim Mars, Lloyd Pye. I mean, these guys are really nice guys.
I know.
Girls, sorry, I should say as well. We had
guys, as in humans. Yeah.
Yeah, people. We also had Laura Eisenhower. She was quite nice, and I just recently saw things posted about her. She was on a few conferences, so that's pretty cool.
That's right.
But yeah, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm still looking for my friggin' book.
I can hear that you're still looking. So how about I talk about Joe Biden missing from the New Hampshire primary ballot. There's a news story that I found, which I was kind of surprised about, but it basically says that if you'd like to vote for him, you have to write his name yourself.
You know who you are.
Right, and it says instead, the voters hoping to support Joe Biden in the state's primary on Tuesday may be surprised to find his name missing. Instead, you will see only those challengers. That's really weird. Dean Phillips and eccentric self-help guru Marianne Williamson, and will have to write in Biden's name themselves if they wish to cast a vote for him. That's something else.
Makes you wonder, though. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, probably, and I'm just spitballing.
Yeah.
If I was this, so you said New Hampshire, did you?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So they're going, okay, well, Joe is really not the same choice for this election. Because, again, no offense, and I'm not bashing old people, right? I'm getting older myself. But, certainly he's getting older. And maybe he's not the best choice, because there's a good chance that he's not going to finish his term. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to look at who's running it, right? So as you write things down, though, right? And I'm not saying this is what happened, but as you write things down, you really think about it, I think, rather than just ticking a box or whatever, or flipping a chip or whatever, however people vote in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You really have to think of it, because if you write it down, you go, am I really writing him down? Am I doing that? Is this what I'm doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I'm just saying, maybe that's what's happening. So
Well,
make people think a little harder.
well, the story says that his absence on the ballot is a result of a disagreement between the Granite State and the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, over the president's request that South Carolina be the first state to have a say in his pursuit of a second term in the White House, on the basis that more reflective of the party's diverse demographic makeup. Okay, so that's very interesting. Really interesting.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it says. You know what? If you want him in there, you're going to have to write it in. Just like you said, how you must focus on writing rather than ticking a box.
Yeah.
And since it's not compulsory to vote, even in the election, in the Democratic voters in New Hampshire, yeah, well, good luck. Good luck getting him on there. I saw that Michelle Obama was sitting in the wings ready to announce that she's going to run. And I think it's going to be quite soon that announcement comes, or it's dismissed openly because, you radio ahead things to see what the groundswell is in reaction to it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's what all government leaks are, This was leaked, the government wishes to do this. And it's like, well, let's play the field. See what happens. See if, and it's like a soccer player. I'm just going to punch this other two kids doing it. I'm just going to punch this other kid in the head. And if the ref doesn't see it, hey, it's allowed, right? So I'm not saying it's not appropriate action for anyone to do anything like that to anyone else. But this is kind of what I'm seeing. I'm watching this, Michelle is saying, well, you know what? I'm as she says, I'm terrified. I'm terrified. And that made the news. The former president's wife is wishing to, possibly run.
I saw that. I saw your post.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I just think it's astounding. Right now, in this kind of day and age, it would be a huge revelation for, Michelle to come out as Michael. That'd be interesting. Could get some good votes there, at least from the, Democratic parties. Because they're quite, they're more accepting, I suppose, according to all the media I'm seeing. But then, I think both sides have crazy people, extremists within their own environments. But I would hope that even if that did happen, then Michelle couldn't say I was the first female president. So I think she'd wear that. She'd want to wear that first. Yeah, I know. You know what I'm saying. You know what? When the AI hears what I've said, the AI is probably, because I love the AI, by the way, hopefully won't hate on me for that.
I love the AI. I couldn't think of a better leader.
True, absolutely. I agree with you. All this voting is ridiculous. Let's just get rid of it, right? Voting.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again: democracy just doesn't work. Kent Brockman.
Yeah, that's right. And I would just like to say to our insect overlords, yeah.
That's gold.
Oh yeah, look, there's the brand. It hasn't been named yet, and it won't probably be named until tomorrow. But there's a crazy, possibly the strongest storm in 50 years. We call them cyclones. You call them hurricanes, or what's the other one? Typhoons, right, in the world. Same thing. They're all the same thing. They're a high-powered, very broad, rotating, windy kind of stormy thing with an eye in the middle, right? It goes up to Cat 5. Well, we are looking like there's going to be one that forms tomorrow afternoon and then comes in. Now, Meckie and I have spoken about that 2,000 millimetres of rain in 24 hours that fell on the last crossing of a as a cyclone did up the far tip of Queensland. But this one, all the way down, like, was it nearly 2,000 kilometres down south from it, is likely to get about 1,300 mils. And Meki goes, "Oh no, that's 1.3 metres." Yeah, it is. I said to my dad, "Look, we're about to get, next Saturday, possibly 1,300 mils of rain, because that's not much." So, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "Well, it's more than 6 inches of rain, Dad." I stood up and I just pointed to around about my chest height. That's about 1,500 mil. And he goes, "Yep, happened before." "Yeah, okay, sure, Dad." He's like turning to Grandpa Simpson. "And the teenagers look scary." So, yeah, they're saying it's going to cross the coast up, Rocky, up near the Rockies, Rockhampton, that is. It'll go in, it'll be a very long event, over a week, they said, and it could linger for more. We currently have over the Northern Territory, we have tropical depression. It's circling and spiraling just like a typhoon or hurricane or cyclone, but it's not over water. And if it still continues to do that and drifts over the water again, because it was formed over land, which is very strange, but if it drifts over there, it might turn into a cyclone on its own, because it already weirdly has the rotation, and the water up there is extremely warm. You only need water that's at least 32 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit, Celsius, and that's enough to spark a super intense storm. So as the sea temperatures increase, a little bit of wind will allow that moisture, because at 32 degrees you get an inexhaustible supply of water vapor that comes off 32 degree water. It is just the thing. So, have you seen those little pond things? You put like a little disc in there with some wires, and it can produce like mist for pot plants and things, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Well, that's only 32 degrees.
Is that right?
That's all it is.
Oh, okay.
It's the magic physics number for making water vapor. And so by doing that and having it rotate around a central point, you can funnel that up and actually cause really good elevation on your eye wall. And it's a super spin kind of effect. It's like making a tornado in your front. Don't do this at home with a paint can, and drilling some clever holes, and putting some accelerant, flame accelerant that is, in there and lighting it, and you can actually cause a flame tornado. Same thing, same effect, but this is over water with water vapor. That's all I got. But it's looking to get rather moist up here, where I am.
Get your snorkel out, my friend. That's what I can say.
I've already had to run. My dad has a small pool, and I already had to run the pool in backwash mode to drain the water out down to a level that the skimmer box can actively pick the surface. Does it make sense? I hope it does.
Yes.
So, already had to run it twice. As we've already had enough rain in the last 2 weeks to be able to lower the water down. Like, because it was overflowing. You couldn't put any more water in it, not a single drop. It would spill out.
That's nuts.
Yeah, well, you wait.
That's just nuts.
So
I'm sorry, but look, we are meant to be in an El Nino year.
Yeah.
No,
well, did you know that the pool is only 1.5 meters deep, or 1.6? And that's how much rain.
That's it. One good rainfall up there where you are.
That is how much rain we're expected to get. That was the segue.
Yeah, that's insane. But look, El Nino is meant to be dry, everybody, okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Or drier.
Well, they told
we had
us that's
3
what
La
we
Nina
need.
years, which is unusual. Not unprecedented, but we had 3 wet years here in Australia.
Uh-huh.
and globally there was La Nina, it was the effect in the Pacific, blah blah whatever. But now this was meant to be El Nino. Okay, now it appears that yes, it is an El Nino year. It is absolutely an El Nino year. However, due to other factors, and
the Indian Oscillation.
Well, yeah, there's that, and what has really caused the precipitation we've seen here in Australia over the last few weeks was this massive event in the Antarctic, where there's this huge mass of whatever cold air, I guess, escaped and made its way right to the Australian, southeast, and then up into the north as well. So as we are moving along in our little world here, and I'm not saying this is man-made or man-influenced or whatever, and we all know that climate change actually happens all the time on this planet. We just never really saw it because we've been living in a very warm and mild period for the last few thousand years. A
stable one.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. I mean, there were here and there were little ice ages and whatnot, or heat spells. Anyway, but the point is, it's changing.
It allowed agriculture to commence. The stability of the weather.
Yeah, so people say. I'm not entirely convinced of that, but that's neither here nor there. It is certainly something that we need to keep in mind, and what I keep hearing now, all the time on the mainstream news, believe it or not, I keep hearing that. We didn't expect this until the end of the century. Oh, this is all happening a lot sooner than we thought it would. Oh, what a shock! Hey, none of our listeners should be shocked by this.
And the Australian minister said, it's unprecedented to see so many weather systems that are called unprecedented.
It is, isn't it? It's double whammy. But look, again, there's a simple reason for this, because all the models were run on computers with information that was not complete, and the computers were slow and didn't have the processing power or the storage capacity to do what we needed to do, and now they're getting better. And in fact, our predictions maybe are getting better, but we don't understand all the knock-on effects. I'll give you a very simple example of one thing we had no idea about. We thought, okay, all this melting is happening, even land ice, we thought it melts from the top. That was part of the model that people used to run.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, so it melts from the top. Okay, well, we now know that's actually a fallacy. What happens is, yes, it does melt land ice. It does melt on the top, but then what also happens, these little channels and rivulets and little gaps in the ice allow the water to run down to the bedrock, or to the rock that the ice sits on. And then that water, which is obviously warmer than the ice, then it creates or tunnels through the ice, creating channels and little furrows, accelerating the melt. So the melt is happening from the top, but it's also happening from the bottom of the ice. Yeah, and that of course then leads to fairly large chunks of glaciers, for example, to come loose, right? Because what was once frozen to the rock is now sort of no longer frozen, but rather sits on a liquid surface as this water runs both from the top and into the ice down to the rock. That was something scientists didn't see at all, but is now well documented as happening.
That's right. And it lubricates the bottom of the ice against the rock.
Yes.
And allows it to slip as well.
Yes, 100%. Right. So, what does it mean? Well, it means that this is new information. And of course, it accelerates everything. And this is another thing that, I think I spoke about this 10, 12 years ago, I can't remember. But as we see these changes coming our way, and I don't care how they're caused, it doesn't matter because they're there now, right? It doesn't matter what started it. As we see these changes happening in the world, right, we'll see accelerations and we'll see domino effects because we just don't understand it. Another thing we didn't account for was the melting of the tundra, or the permafrost. Now, permafrost tundra in like almost all of Siberia is permafrost. What does it mean? Well, it's really just mud or bog, which is frozen. That's what it is, right?
It was swampy mud. Yep.
But it never thaws. It never really thaws. It might have some surface thawing during the summer and such, but in the depth of it, it stays frozen. right? And it has been frozen for thousands of years, as far as we can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And now it isn't. Now it's actually melting. And it's melting to a fair depth. What it does, though, because these are bogs and marshlands and such, right?
And there's bacteria in that bog.
Yeah, a lot of fermenting biomatter, right? And they're releasing gases as you ferment. That's what happens. And one of the gases that is created by... Sorry?
Methane.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And methane, they tell us, is a much worse greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
Yes, it is.
So, that was another thing that wasn't accounted for example, right? But again, look, I'm not putting a hate on people. Just that's science. We learn more stuff. We just learn more stuff all the time. What I do hate is when people ignore the evidence and they ignore what we've learned, right? And in some instances, you know, we incorporate it into our models, and that's great. But in some instances, we do not. And we just ignore it because it doesn't fit the model, right? And that's why things are okay. I don't want to be fatalistic here, and I've got a family myself, so I have no interest in doomsday scenarios actually playing out. I really don't. But there's nothing we can do now to stop whatever is happening, whatever it is that's happening. In fact, I don't know if we ever had the capacity to stop it. So number one, okay, first thing, are humans responsible? Don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Let's just say we go with all the media propaganda and all the things that are being said now, and we say, okay, humans are responsible. Maybe, I don't know. But let's just say we are. But even if we're not, right? Especially if we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if we're not, then there's nothing we can do anyway. I mean, you know, what you're going to do? You know, put silver into the atmosphere, you know, to block the sunlight. You think that's a good idea? Not really, no. Create a nuclear winter, that's worse.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to slow down the heating? How do you do that? I don't know. And so if we're not responsible, there's very little we could do to stop it. But if we are responsible, what can we do to stop it? Okay, what could we do? Well, what we have, if the human race were responsible for the warming of the globe to the extent that we see and the change of climate that is attending, you know, in that scenario, then we would have to shut down everything we're doing that produces these effects. Essentially, that's what we would have to do if we are responsible. All has to be shut down. And
sadly, the question hasn't been answered. It's assumed that whether or not it's real is a whole different thing. And one of the issues, Mekki, right? I'm just going to interrupt you, right? Let's pause for a minute. And that is, I've been watching the European farmers tipping soil on the freeways and on the stairs of Parliament and on the roads, like farming like refuse and it could be animal waste or, you know, hay or dirt or whatever, right? And they're doing this in protest because they're being told that they can't run the sheep and the cows anymore because they produce methane. Because to fix the greenhouse gas emissions that we've labelled as the cause, not saying I have, but you know, humanity has, then they're being told you can't do this, you're actually killing us here with what you're doing. Yeah, but they go, but we're feeding you. Doesn't matter. All right?
It's insanity.
It is.
And the funny thing is this, right? Nothing that we can do on a national level, each nation on the planet, nothing that can be done on a national level would make any difference at all.
That's right.
That sounds very crazy, Mekki. Yes, it does, maybe, but it's true. The biggest polluters, let's call it right, let's just use that moniker, are corporations, which are multinational. And if you stop them polluting in, I don't know, China or in Peru, they'll just move to Thailand or Syria or wherever they're allowed to pollute. Okay, and again, I come back to it. There's this whole system where everybody needs to, you know, electric cars. That's a huge scam. Does nothing for the environment. Nothing. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
It's worse, in fact. It's much worse. Okay. Anyway, that's my little hate there against electric cars. But But the critical thing here is this, that no matter what you do as individuals, it has no effect on anything, right? Even nations, like I said. And we know that nobody's serious about it. Nobody's really serious about reducing carbon emissions. Nobody. Why would I say that? Because we've got something called the carbon trading scheme. Carbon credits. This is a genius. It is a genius way to, again, create money out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So America is a great polluter. I'm not picking on America. Let's just, another country then. I don't know. That's Serbia. Serbia is a great polluter, let's say. Right? Serbia pollutes, hara. But it wants to pollute more because its industry is growing. Oh, that's the problem. You can't because, the limits, etc., blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. So these limits were created artificially. These laws, whatever they are, by each country or even, on a global level. But, over there, Cameroon is not polluting at all. They're living in a Stone Age. They got Flintstone cars, and they're eating organic food.
Can you get a passport to live there? What's going on?
Curse them. So instead of saying, hey, Cameroon, be like Cameroon. Be like Cameroon. No. Cameroon is not polluting enough. Okay, so, if looking at the population size of Cameroon, its landmass, etc., okay, it has the capacity to pollute X. Let's call it 1,000 units of pollution, right? That it is not doing. It's not doing that. It's not polluting. But there are 1,000 units here that it could pollute. Right. Well, Serbia, you need 500 units, to keep polluting the way you are and grow your industry. We now will allow you to buy carbon credits from Cameroon. So you pay money to Cameroon, and they do whatever they do with that, right? And then once you have these carbon credits, these 500 units of pollution, pollute away. Go ahead. Do you see the insanity here, the cynicism?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, like I said, be like Cameroon. Now, of course we can't shut it all down, but be more like Cameroon than you are today. No. Forget that. We're gonna, and what the funny thing, this is the genius of it. They're, of course, these people that are carbon traders, just like stock traders, right? Like Wall Street. Carbon traders. It's a whole new revenue stream for whoever, right? The people that know what's what. The parasites that contribute nothing. And they're getting commissions on selling carbon credits. Isn't that wonderful? And this is, you can't make this up, Dave. You can't. I don't know if you guys watch Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, right? It's an old show, 80s, English, I think 70s and 80s, which people found hilarious, right? And it was such an absurd show. But, of course, everything in it is completely accurate. That's exactly how government works. That's exactly how bureaucracy works. And it has to, because politicians are there for a term, whereas the bureaucrats are there forever.
That's right.
Bureaucrats are there forever. The lady that screwed up our robo-debt,
yes.
I guess, system or whatever it was. Well, she didn't screw it up. She was in charge of it, right? And it was a huge, massive screw-up, which led to people suiciding, believe it or not. And it wrongly asked for money back, but the whole scheme was actually unconstitutional. It was illegal. The entire scheme was illegal. That lady was then promoted, and in the end, she had a salary of $700,000 a year, thereabouts, and she was looking after the submarines. I think she's now been removed after this robo-debt thing, blew up. But it took years. And at that time, she had a salary of well over $500,000, I'm sure. Because she's a bureaucrat. Okay? She's a bureaucrat. People are just bureaucrats. They move around. Not politicians. Politicians, if your party's in power in Australia, then yes, you become this minister and that minister, whatever. But if your party is not in power, then you sit on the backbench or do something else. And that's when we have charities, believe it or not, in Australia. Charities and non-for-profits. And that's where those unused functionaries, political animals that aren't on the front bench or the back bench, that's where they go when they have nothing to do. So when a certain party is not in power, they find these holding positions in charities, NGOs, etc. Right. And that's the same in every country, I'm pretty sure. Or they become lobbyists or whatever. The entire system is completely insane. Nobody cares about solving any problems, Dave. Nobody's interested. Problem solved. What's that?
Guess what?
Make some more money.
Guess what?
Make money.
I know money. Money's all that money's money. Okay, so I've just flicked you something. This comes from the Australian government.
Oh yeah, that's a nice graphic.
Yeah, it is.
It's our carbon budget.
It is our carbon budget. And I'll tell you what the most striking thing is on it. That is that the total output of carbon from all sources is 784. Let's just forget the scale. 784 is what we produce. And our land is, because we have so many trees and stuff, right? It's 761 is able to what it's sequestering. So that's really only a net difference of, do the math, Meki, right?
23.
23. It's only 23. But guess how much of the carbon is created by bushfires? 398.
More than half.
So if we just put the fires out quickly, have a lot of infrastructure there, firefighting planes everywhere around the country, then we're better than carbon neutral.
We would be a net carbon sink.
Yeah, that's right. Think about that for a minute. Look how many carbon credits we could all have each, right? I just think this is extraordinary, and we're forcing us to do all these things. We don't have to.
Well,
Don't stop burning coal. Screw that. Don't stop burning oil or gas. Right? Don't do any of that stuff.
No, Dave, go electric.
Hey.
That's
Just put
funny.
the fires out.
Fires out. That's communist talk. Are you some kind of commie? Reno commie pinko? yeah, that's right. I mean, seriously though.
This was the government. The government commissioned this report.
I love this graph. Now, of course, I haven't seen this out in the world.
No, you won't.
And it's figure 15, which I imagine is a fairly large document.
It is.
But-
It's gigantic.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And look, but the thing is this, right? So the information is actually available. All information is pretty much, a good chunk of information is available. There's information that is not available, right? And we've highlighted that. But there's information that's available. But you know what? Most people don't care because they get their news from the radio, from the TV, from their device, whatever, and then that's the opinion they have. And I find it hilarious when people really defend their inherited opinion. Oh, you really thought about this, have you? Yeah. Bob on the news said this and that and whatever. People never say that. They just internalize and they make it their own. So they hear something, right? And if it happens to agree with their core beliefs anyway, awesome, right? Because then that's what I want. I want certainty in my beliefs. My beliefs are right. Yours are wrong, but mine are right. So I don't know, Dave. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm right and you're wrong. And
do you know what's interesting, Mickey? Around the world, and thank you for a friend of the show highlighting something to me about this, about the carbon and the carbon credits, and the scale that they use around the world is per capita of carbon production.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So yeah, it makes sense, right? Because they want to equalize it to everybody. It's not land mass; it's the amount of people per person per capita. That's what it means. You get a bunch of immigrants come in. You get how many million in the US? You're bringing those numbers down.
Oh, yeah.
Those carbon per capita numbers start dropping. That's a good way of doing it. Look at us. Look how successful we were. I can't believe that's an hour already gone. But guess what? We'll be back after a short break with probably the last show of the cycle that we're talking about coming up next. Stay tuned, sit tight, and donate.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Management would like to take a moment to thank the listeners and hosts for all their support that has made Revolution Radio one of the biggest platforms for free speech in an ever-growing dark world of censorship. Unfortunately,